Welcome to the channel, everybody. In today's video, we're going to be looking at irons, and not just any old iron, but a particular category of handicap, the mid to low handicap golfer. Now, my name is Dan Hendriksen. I'm a PJ professional. I do club reviews for one of the biggest buying groups in the UK, Foremost Golf. So I know a little bit about hitting golf clubs, and I know a little bit about the tech that's gone into some of these irons. So I thought in today's video, I could give you my top 5 of what I think you should be looking for when you're looking to change your irons for this season. Let's get into the video. Now, when it comes to choosing a set of irons for a mid to low handicap golfer, I think that golfer is going to be looking for some clubs that are going to give them precision. What do I mean by precision? Start to hit more greens and get it closer to the flag, because that golfer is already going to be hitting consistently out of the middle of the club, and therefore wants to start getting a bit more precision when it comes to dispersion from left to right and even front to back. And control of the golf ball is massively important when it comes to hitting the target and then ultimately getting your dispersion right and your yardage right. Now, the type of clubs that I've chosen for the top 5 for this video actually are very similar to the type of clubs that I would use. They're kind of like a CB, a cavity back iron, still got the look of like a player's iron, but ultimately just got a little bit more help with them. Now, this may shock some of you, but coming in at number 5 is the Mizuno Pro. Now, there's a number of reasons why I've chosen the Mizuno to go in at number 5. So for all those Mizuno fans out there, please don't switch off just yet. These particular clubs, we're looking for precision, we're looking for control. How do you get control? Spin, generally. If you can get some good amount of spin on that golf ball, you're going to get control of that golf ball. Now, off the club face, it comes in off at 115.5 mile an hour on an average. It launches really well at 18 degrees. The spin number there at 6,100 revs on an average, peaking out 31 yards high and 160 yards on an average carry. However, the pickups and drop-offs that I'm getting from this particular iron, 154 yards coming off the carry point when I don't quite hit it, up to 165 yards. Granted, one finished a little bit right, one went a little bit left, so therefore the spin's going to drop off, it's going to go a little bit further, the ball speed's going to increase. But the other thing that sort of really steps out with this particular club is the RRP. We're going online looking at these clubs now, and you're probably looking at around £200 per iron for this particular set. And that is kind of the icing on the cake with me putting it at number 5. Oh, just a quick one. For those of you that are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this content. We've got loads more on the channel, but let's get back into the video. Again, another shock for you coming up. At number 4, we've got the Titleist T100 iron. And again, for all those Titleist fans out there, please don't switch off yet, because there's a reason why I've got this one outside of the top 3. Again, like I said, I've used this club. So let's look at the positives of what we're getting out of that Titleist T100. It's a beautiful looking iron. The feel off the club face is fantastic, very similar to what I kind of get out of that Mizuno. I've used this club. I've used this club for a number of years in some ways. I use the MB version of it now, but at 34 degrees of loft, I take my hat off to Titleist for keeping their traditional lofts when it comes to this CB kind of iron, should we say, cavity back iron. 113.6 mile an hour off the club face, which I think kind of reflects the loft of the club. We're launching it really well at 19.2 and a spin rate at 6,494 revs on an average, peaking out 31 yards high and an average carry of 156 yards. So a little bit lower in the yardage that I'm seeing out of that Mizuno, but ultimately there's 2 degrees of difference in loft here. So an increase in spin and a decrease in yardage. But £180 per club is what we're seeing this one online as it stands right now in 2024. But it's that jump around again in dispersion that I'm seeing from the carry distances. 150 yards when I see a drop off to 160 yards when I really do hit it well. However, I felt like this golf club could get good control, and that control comes from that spin and that extra bit of loft. But Titleist T100 comes in at number 4. Top 3. And I think if you can get yourself into the top 3 in this category, I think you're doing very well for a club design. However, Srixon ZX7 is my number 3 for this particular count. And again, there'll be a number of reasons why I've kind of put it into that top 3 position. Feel off the club face, maybe just a little bit firmer than what I feel, let's say, out of the Mizuno, but I'm expecting to feel quite a soft feel out of that Mizuno. As some of you will know, nothing feels like a Mizuno. However, we've got 32 degrees of loft in this particular head, and as I said, I don't particularly like it when companies push those lofts down, certainly in this setup of golf club. But 113.9 mile an hour off the club face, launching it pretty good at 18.9, so we're getting good launch out of a lower lofted, let's say 7-iron. But look at that spin number, 6.3 in the spin. At a 32 degrees, I think this particular club has got plenty of technology to help it generate a decent launch with decent spin. Peaking out 31 yards high and an average carry of 157 yards. Now this club kind of comes in online at about £150 per iron, which is certainly a £50 less than what we're seeing out of that Mizuno, and a few pounds less again than what we're seeing out of that Titleist. So with the technology that they've got into this particular club and the fact that it's 32 degrees in loft, so you're getting good yardage, but you're also getting that fantastic spin, and I think at £150 in the lineup of what we've got here, it's a pretty good from a value point of view. And it's the reason why I've put it as number 3. But there's 2 left. The beautiful Blueprint S by Ping and the chrome effect of the Wilson CB. Which one's coming in at number 2? Well, if you guessed Ping, Blueprint S, you would be absolutely spot on, coming in at number 2. It's hard to take your eyes off this club, certainly when it's on a rack in the shop, because visually, it's an absolutely stunning piece of art. Now the Ping Blueprint S comes in as standard at 33 degrees of loft. Some of you would argue that there's actually kind of a retro and a power option as well available in this particular head, that retro being a little bit more loft and the power one being a decrease in loft. But I think most companies kind of can offer that now in their lineup. This particular one though, 113.6 mile an hour off the club face, launching it pretty well at 18.4 with an average spin of 6,316 revs, which is pretty good, peaking out 30 yards high and an average carry of 157 yards. And I saw those numbers pretty tight, to be honest. What have I got there? From 154 yards right the way up to 161 yards. So a nice tight dispersion when it comes to the Ping. Now, it's not the cheapest lineup, £185 per iron, but it's certainly not the most expensive in this range. And I think the feel off the club face very similar to what I'm getting out of the Mizuno, very similar to what I'm getting out of that Titleist, but I feel like the blade length on this particular one is going to suit the eye of a lot of players. It's slightly longer, I feel, in its blade length, but from a visual point of view, absolutely stunning. So with all those things merged together, I've put this one as number 2. That means that the Wilson CB is today's number 1 in the lineup of the top 5 of this particular category of iron. And it is the underdog. It really is the underdog. And I can hear lots of you kind of cheering, and you'll certainly cheer a little bit more when you get to see the price of these particular clubs in comparison to what we've seen in those other 4. But I think from a visual point of view, the Wilson CB looks absolutely beautiful down by the ball. It's 34 degrees in loft, which I absolutely love. Like I've said before, you know, it's important to know what your target is when it comes to this particular iron. And for me personally, I feel like getting control, getting loft, getting spin on that golf ball is certainly going to help lots of players hit their target more often. But this particular one, I hope you're sat down, comes in at £145 per club. Remember that Mizuno at 200, 180 out of the Titleist, 185 out of what we're seeing out of that ping, but 145 pounds, it's not necessarily going to break the bank, should we say, in this particular setup. It's 115.8 mile an hour off the club face. It's launching really well at 18.3. The spin numbers are fantastic, as you'd expect, at 34 degrees aloft at 6,429 revs. It peaks out 31 yards high and an average carry of 160 yards. But again, look at that dispersion. 158 yards to 162 yards. So I'm getting great control when I see this golf club perform on the numbers. So that is my number one setup for this particular lineup. Some of you are going to probably be a little bit confused about that, but it's always nice to see an underdog take that top spot. Well, there you have it, my top 5 of the mid to low handicap golfers out there. Now, there are numbers of other brands on the market that you can go and put as a head-to-head on these. These are just my picks, my top 5 for 2024. But I'd like to hear what you think about that. Are you somebody that's a mid to low handicap golfer and are looking for maybe a little bit more control? Having a little bit more loft, having a little bit more spin is certainly going to help you get that dispersion right, certainly from front to back, which is just as important as left to right. Remember that as well when you're trying to improve your golf. But I'd like to know, are any of you using the clubs that I've chosen from this setup here today? Down there in the comments. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again on the next video.